everyone, my name is Jen and I'll be practicing with my friend Jill and Jazz today. I'd like to welcome you all. Thank you for joining us from home on your mats today. We're looking forward to practicing together with you. Before we get started, just a couple of things. Jill and Jazz did a video a couple of weeks ago, and if you are brand new to yoga and have never practiced before, you might want to check that out and do that practice first and then come back and join us. Also, if you have a blanket like this handy, or maybe even a large beach towel, you might want to pause the video for just a second and go grab that so that you have it handy throughout our practice. And then we'll go ahead and get started. So we're going to start today in just a comfortable seated position. I like to sit up on my blanket a little bit. It helps me to sit up nice and tall. So you might want to try that. And then we're just going to try to feel ourselves sitting so that our bottom is sitting equally on both sides on our blanket or our mat. And we're going to sit up nice and tall with a tall, long yoga back. So maybe feel like we have a little string at the top of our head and it's pulling us up towards the ceiling. So our back is nice and long and our neck is straight and long. We're not scrunching it back or dipping our chin in towards our chest. We can just plant our hands on our knees for a moment. And we want to feel our shoulders kind of moving down away from our ears. So they're not all scrunched up here like this. And they're just comfortably moving down the back and maybe squeezing together a little bit behind. Then we'll just go ahead and start by closing our eyes for a moment. And maybe we bring one hand to our belly and one hand to our heart. And just take a moment to start to notice yourself breathing. Take a big breath in through your nose and a big breath out through your nose. And see if maybe you can feel your belly and chest filling up like a balloon when you take that big breath in, and then emptying like we're letting the air out of the balloon when you take a big breath out. Maybe you can even notice the sound of your breath as you're breathing in and out. And this time we're going to take the biggest breath in that we've taken yet today. Great big breath in. And then we're going to open our mouth and take a big breath out together. Go ahead and open our eyes. Bring your fingers down to the floor. Take a big breath in. We'll reach our hands up and overhead. Let our fingertips come together. We'll take our time and we'll float our hands back down to the earth as we take a big breath out. Let's do that again. Take a big breath in. Big breath out. Maybe we wiggle our fingers a little as we bring them back down to the ground. Big breath in. Big breath out. And let's do that 2 more times. Big breath in. Big breath out. 1 more time. Big breath in. Nice and slowly, big breath out. This time we're going to bring our hands up over our head. And we're going to clasp our fingers together. And we're going to point our first finger, our index finger, up towards the ceiling. And reach up nice and tall. Get really long on both sides of your body, reaching, reaching, reaching. And then we're going to keep our bottom on the ground and we're going to lean over. Feel a nice stretch in the side. We're going to come back up to the middle and let's lean over in the opposite direction. We'll come back to the middle. Let's do that one more time on each side. Reach up nice and tall and lean over. Come back to the middle, and one more time in the opposite direction. Feel a nice stretch all the way along the side. Come back to the middle, and let our hands float back down. You can put your hands wherever it's comfortable. They can rest on the mat, or maybe you put them on your knees, palms face down. And we're just going to get a nice little stretch for our neck. So let's bring our ear down towards our shoulder. And maybe we use our hand just to give it a gentle tug. And we'll slowly bring our head back to the middle. And let's do that on the other side. And don't pull too hard, just a nice gentle tug. And then we'll come back to the middle. Now we're going to do something that might sound a little bit silly, but we're going to pretend that the tip of your nose is like a pencil. And we're just going to try to draw some big circles with our nose. Start in one direction. Nice and slow. Stop when we get back to the middle, and let's go the other direction. Stop when we get back to the middle. Let's just take our time and tuck our chin in towards our chest, so we can feel a nice stretch in the back of the neck. Bring our head back up and look forward. Let's bring those arms up into a cactus shape. So your elbows are going to be pointing down to the ground and your fingertips up towards the sky. And we're going to press our hands back a little bit towards the wall behind us. And take a deep breath in. And on your breath out, we're going to close our arms. Press our hands and our elbows together. And we're going to open our arms, big breath in. Sort of like little butterfly wings. Big breath out, we close them. Let's do that 3 more times. We open and close. Big breath in, we open. Big breath out, we close. One more time, big breath in, we open. Big breath out, we close. We're going to put our hands back on our knees. Now we're going to move into a tabletop position. So you might want to use your little blanket. Jazz and Joe, you might like this also. We'll unfold them and just lay them across the center of your mat so you have a little bit of extra cushion for your knees. Go ahead and take a minute to do that. Get it nice and smooth. Maybe unfold it one more time. There you go, perfect. Okay, everyone, so now we're going to come into our tabletop position. This is something we'll do a lot in yoga. So let's just take a few minutes to make sure that we set this up nice and strong. So take a peek at your knees, and you want your knees to be underneath your hips. And you can tuck your toes or leave them untucked, whatever feels better for you. And then we're going to put both of our hands on our mat and spread our fingers nice and wide. And then just take a minute to take a peek at your shoulder and your wrist. You don't want to be leaning forward like this or leaning back. We want to have our shoulder and our wrist in a nice straight line. Ready for us, Jill? Yep. You guys want to give it a try? All right. Now, the other thing that's really important is that you keep your belly nice and strong here. So you want to pull your belly button up towards your back of your spine. We don't want to be sinking our belly low, and we don't want to be arching our back. So we want a nice flat back like a table. Okay? Perfect. Now from here, we're just going to stretch our feet a little bit. So you guys can go ahead and do this with me. We're just going to step 1 foot back and let our toes come down to the mat. And we're just going to rock gently. Press back and come forward. Press back and come forward. one more time, we'll press back and come forward. Go ahead and put your knee back down, and let's do that on the other side, so whichever leg you didn't do. Reach our foot back, put our toes on the mat, and just press back and come forward. And press back and come forward. And one more time. We're going to press back and come forward. Put your knee back down. Let's go ahead and make sure we still have our nice strong table. Our belly's nice and strong. And we're going to do two poses now. We're going to do a cow pose and a cat pose. So maybe just take a second, sit back on your heels, watch the video for a minute, and I will show you what this looks like. So first we're going to do cow. We're going to lift our tail and our bottom up as our belly drops down to the floor, and we're going to look up. Maybe try to see the space up where the wall and the ceiling come together. Just look up. And then we're going to do cat. So we're going to tuck our tail. We're going to round into our spine, arch our back like a kitty cat, and look back towards our feet. Okay, so you come back into your table, and let's see if we can do that together. All right, are you ready? First we'll do cow. We lift our tail, drop our belly, and look up. We're going to tuck our tail, arch our back, push the mat away, and look back at our feet. Do that a couple more times. Lift our tail, drop our belly, look up. Tuck our tail round into our spine. Really push the mat away and look back at your feet. One more time. Lift our tail, drop our belly, look up. Tuck the tail, arch our back, and look back at our feet. Very good. Then we'll come back into our table. Let's just sit back on our heels for a minute. And we'll give our wrists a little break. So maybe we do a few circles with our wrists. Maybe we pull our fingers back. Maybe we drop them down, shake them out, whatever feels good for your wrists. And when you're ready, we're going to come back into our table. Let's just take a peek again. Spread our fingers nice and wide. Make sure our elbow or our shoulder is over our wrist. Belly's nice and strong. Our back is nice and flat. We're going to do a little balancing here. So I'll show you first what it's going to look like. We're going to reach our foot back, bring our toes off the mat, and lift the opposite hand. You want your toes pointing down towards the floor and your fingers reaching forward. I'll try this together. We'll come into our table. Let's reach our foot back, bring the toes off the mat, lift our heel up towards the sky. And when we're ready, we're going to reach our opposite arm forward. Really reach forward with your hand and stretch back with your foot. It's okay if you feel a little wobbly or shaky. If you fall out, just come back in. Don't forget to take a big breath in and a big breath out. Release our hand and our knee back to the mat. And let's try that on the other side. Reach our foot back, lift our heel up towards the sky, and reach our opposite arm forward. Really reach forward, press back through your heel. Remember to breathe, maybe even smile. Put our hand and our knee back on the mat. Okay, very good. So now we're going to come down onto our bellies. So you can leave the blanket there if that feels good for you. If you don't want it in the way, you can take it off your mat for now. We're just going to slowly come all the way down. Okay, so we're going to come into Sphinx pose. So you guys can come onto your bellies and then I'll show you what we're going to do. There you go. All right, so this is what it's going to look like. Okay, we're going to start by putting our hands down on the mat and our fingertips are facing the top of our mat. And we don't want our hands really wide out to the edge of our mat, and we don't want them coming in. We want them nice and straight coming away from our elbows. Okay? And then I want you to wiggle your feet a little bit. Pay attention to where your toes are, and really press your feet down into the mat. Feel your feet pressing into the mat, and the tops of your legs pressing down into the mat. And then you're just going to press your hands really firmly into the mat, and lift yourself up. We're going to look up again at that space where the ceiling and the wall come together. And then slowly go ahead and let yourself come back down. And we'll lift up one more time. See if you can lift a little bit higher. Keep your hands and your elbows on the mat. This is called Sphinx pose. And we'll slowly lower ourselves back down. You can take your hands, put them in front of you, make a little pillow for your head, and go ahead and put your head down on your arms. We can bend our knees, point our feet up towards the ceiling, and then just let our legs drop from one side to the other, kind of like little windshield wipers. We'll do that a couple of times. Okay. Go ahead and put your feet back on the floor. We're going to press ourselves up. Now we're going to do a really nice pose. Feels really good, called child's pose. So I'm going to show you what it looks like, and then we can do it together. So my big toes are coming together, they're touching each other, and my knees are moving out wide towards the edge of my mat. And I'm just going to walk my hands out and let my belly and chest come down towards my legs or the mat. And let my head rest. If you feel like you need to have a little blanket under your head, you can put that under your forehead. So you want to all do that together. Keep your knees nice and wide. Walk our hands forward. See if you can let your hips rest down towards your feet. If it's hard on your shoulders at all, you can always walk your hands out a little bit wider. Okay. We're going to walk our hands out, come back to seated on our heels. And now we're going to come into downward facing dog. And this is a pose that if you've practiced yoga before, you've probably seen, but I'll show you what it looks like and then we can all do it together. So we're going to put our hands back down on the mat and have those fingertips spread wide like we did when we were doing table. And we're going to tuck our toes, and then we're going to lift our knees off the mat, and we're going to lift our hips up and straighten into our legs. Okay, so do that with me. So we're going to move into our downward dog, put our hands on the mat, tucking our toes, lifting our hips up and back. And you can keep your legs a little bit a little bit bent if that feels better. And maybe it feels good to move your legs a little bit. Bend into one and then the other. This is called walking your dog. Okay, then we'll make both of our legs still. And we're just going to lift one foot up. Lift the toes off the mat. The heel towards the ceiling. And we'll bring it back down. And let's lift the opposite leg up. And then we'll slowly bring it back down. All right, so now we're going to take little tiny steps. And we're going to walk our feet all the way up. So our feet are by our hands. We can keep our legs nice and bent here. And then we're going to take our time. And we're going to move really slowly, and we're going to roll all the way up, taking our time, all the way up to standing. Bring our hands up, and then bring them together in front of our heart. Okay, nice job so far, everyone. Right, now we're going to do mountain pose. So this is a really important pose in yoga. This helps make your body really strong. So let's start with our feet. Let's look down at our toes and our feet and see that they're about as wide as our hips or our body. So our legs aren't like this. They're not really close together. They're about as wide as our hips. And then maybe lift your toes off the mat, wiggle them a little bit, and then feel all of your toes pressing back down into the mat. And the back of your foot is pressing into the mat. We're nice and strong. We feel our legs really strong here. You want to feel your belly strong, so the belly button is pulling back to the spine. We're not sticking our bottom out. We're not swaying back. Got our belly nice and strong. And our shoulders aren't scrunched up by our ears. They're coming down our back a little bit. Hands are going to face forward. And we're going to feel again like we have that little string tied to the very top of our head, and it's pulling us up nice and tall. Okay. Take a big breath in, bring our hands up. Interlace our fingers again. Point those first two fingers, our index fingers, towards the sky. Reach up nice and tall, just like when we started. We're going to lean over to the side. Keep your arms nice and straight. We'll come back to the middle. And let's lean over to the other side. Come back to the middle. Let our hands come apart, reach them to the ceiling, and maybe just do a little back bend here. Looking back just a little bit. Maybe you feel like you've got a beach ball in between your hands. And then we'll come back up and bring our hands down to our hips. Okay, how are we doing back here? Good? Okay, so now we're going to do something called chair pose. This is another pose that's really good for making you nice and strong. So I'm going to show you first what it looks like, and then we'll all do it together. So we spread our feet out again so they're about as wide as our hips. And then we're just going to bend our knees. Take a big, big bend in our knees, and we're going to sink our bottom down like we're trying to sit in a chair. Maybe we lift our toes up a little, and then we're going to bring our arms up close to our ears. Okay, you guys want to give it a try with me? Let's take a big bend, like we're sitting back in a chair. And then lean back a little bit, and then bring our arms up. Back is nice and straight, your belly is strong. Take a big breath in, big breath out. Bring our hands to our hips. We'll slowly stand back up. Maybe we shake our legs out a little. It was a lot of work for them. Maybe we sway a little from side to side. And we're going to try that one more time. So take a big bend, sit back in your chair. There you go. Bring your arms up. Remember to breathe. See if we can sit here to the count of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good job. Bring our hands to our hips. Come all the way back up. Let's shake those legs out a little bit. And we'll do another little sway from side to side. Next, we're going to do one of my favorite poses. This is a really good balancing pose, and it's called tree. I think if you did the video with Jazz and Jill, you did this one. But I'll remind you and show you what it looks like. So we're going to come up onto our tiptoes, and we're going to open our knee up to the side of our mat and bring the heel to our ankle. We can put our hands on our hips. Maybe we go our tree up nice and tall. to try that with me? So we'll come up onto our tiptoes. Open our knee up to the side. And bring our ankle to our heel. Maybe if you're feeling a little bit brave today, you can bring the bottom of your foot to your calf. It's okay if you get shaky or you wobble around a little bit. You can bring your arms up. Maybe we like a nice little cactus arm. Maybe if we're feeling super adventurous, you see if we can bring our foot to the inside of our thigh. And if we fall out, we just try it again. You can always use a chair or the wall for a little bit of extra balance while you're practicing. Put our foot back on the floor, and let's try it on the opposite side. So whatever leg you didn't do before, we're going to come up onto our tiptoes, open our knee up, put our heel on our ankle, and maybe we just stay right here. This is a beautiful tree. Or maybe we try to bring the foot to the calf. You might feel like it's easier on one side than the other. Grow our tree nice and tall. It's okay if it gets windy and you wobble. Maybe you see if your foot will come up on this side. And maybe we do the little cactus arm again. Bring our hands to our hips. And let's bring both our feet back to the floor. We're going to take a nice little forward fold here. We're going to take a really big bend in our knees. So bend our knees a lot and bring our fingers all the way down to the floor. Okay? And then we're going to let our head come down towards the mat. And our belly and chest are coming back towards our legs. And we can stay right here with our knees bent, really big bend, or maybe you can start to straighten into your legs a little bit. But if your fingers have to come off the mat, we're just going to keep our knees bent. There you go, Jazz. Maybe we shake our head a little yes or no. Maybe we even like to grab our elbows and do a little sway. I think it looks a little like an elephant trunk. And just like before, we're going to take our time and roll all the way up. Bring our hands together. Bring them down in front of our heart. Maybe we take just a second to close our eyes. Just like when we started class, pay attention to your breath for a minute. Take a couple big breaths in, big breath out. Okay, we'll open our eyes. We're going to set ourselves back up in that mountain pose. So your feet are about as wide as your hips and your body's nice and strong. Your hands are facing forward. And your back and your neck are nice and long. And our shoulders aren't scrunching up by our ears. Okay. Now we're going to do something called Warrior 2. So this one's a little bit more challenging. I'm going to show you what it looks like. So take a quick break, take a look at the video, and then we'll go into it together. We're going to have our feet are going to be wide and apart from each other. We're going to have a big bend in the front knee. Reach our arms out, and we're going to look forward. We're going to try to keep our arms nice and straight so we're not wobbling like this. Okay? So we'll do that all together. I'll walk you through it. So let's bring our hands to our hips. Let's take a big step back with one of our feet. And let our whole foot come down. Scooch our front toes up just a little bit. And then we're going to take a big bend in our front knee. And I want you to take just a second and take a peek down at your knee and your foot. If your knee is moving all the way up by your toes, then let's come back just a little bit. Okay. And we're going to bring our arms out to the side. We're going to look over our front fingers. And we want our head to be over our heart and our heart to be over our hips. So we're not leaning forward. Our upper body is nice and straight and tall. And our knee is nice and bent. Maybe try to see if you can press your pinkies back a little bit. Just take a couple of breaths here. Very nice. Let's bring our hands to our hips. We'll step our back foot up to meet our front. Give those legs a little shake. Give ourselves a little hug. And rocking from side to side. And let's do that on the other side. So whichever leg you didn't do before, you're going to take a big step back. Okay, we're going to take a big bend into our front knee. And take a peek again. Just take a peek at your knee and your toes. And just make sure that your knee isn't coming all the way up by your toes. If it is, back it up a little bit. And bring our arms out. Look over our front fingers. Feeling nice and strong here. And let's take a few breaths here. Okay, bring our hands back to our hips. Let's just turn both of our feet forward. So this time we're going to have our legs wide toward the edges of our mat. Stand up nice and tall here. Nice tall yoga back. Our knees are kind of bent just a little bit, so they're nice and soft. And we're just going to begin to fold forward. So spread your feet out nice and wide, Jazz. Take a little step out to the edge of your mat. There you go. And we'll just bend forward. We can bring our hands right here to our shins. Or maybe you can reach the floor. Keeping your knees nice and bent is just fine. It's perfect for today. Then we'll use our legs to help us, our hands, and we'll walk ourselves slowly back up. Okay, so now we're going to do a little yoga flow. So we're going to do a couple of poses all together. I know that my friends Jazz and Jill already know how to do this one, but I'm going to show you first. If you guys want to watch for a minute just to remind you, and then we'll all try to do it together. And this one's a little bit trickier, so if you watch it the first time and you don't quite get it, feel free to rewind the video and watch it again, and then we'll all join in together. So we're going to start in our downward dog. And just like we did before, we're going to lift one leg up. We're going to come up onto the tiptoes of our other leg. We're going to bend our knee. And we're going to bring our foot all the way up by our hands. Maybe we use our other hand to scooch it up there a little bit. And then we're going to take our time, bring our knee down to the mat. And we can use our hands to walk ourselves back. Maybe use our leg for a little support, walk ourselves up. And sweep our arms up. Remember that one, Jazz? Okay. So now we can all try that together. If you think it's going to hurt your knee to come down on your knee, you can take your blanket like Jazz is doing and spread it across the middle of your mat. Okay. So let's all try that together. Let's just come down into our downward dog. So walk our hands out. Okay. Lift our leg up, come up onto our tiptoes, bend our knee, and bring our foot all the way up by our fingers. There we go, and we bring our knee down, and our arms up. Great job, guys. Reach those fingers tall. Slowly bring our hand back down. Bring our knee back. Our knees are together. sit back on our heels for a minute. Shake those wrists out a little bit. Give ourselves another little hug. We'll try that on the other side. Okay? So let's come back into our downward dog. We're going to lift the opposite leg up. Take a big bend in our knee, come up onto our tiptoes, step our foot all the way through. Bring our other knee down to the mat, and bring our arms up. Back is nice and straight, reaching arms toward the ceiling. Maybe you want to try a little cactus shape with your arms on this side. Nice job. Reach our arms up. Bring our hands back to the mat. Bring our knees back together. Sit back on our heels. And this time we're going to come into child's pose with our knees together. So my knees are together. I'm going to bring my belly and my chest down towards my thighs. Let my forehead come to the mat. And I can put my hands back by my feet. Take just a minute to rest here. And let's go ahead and come back up. We're going to come back into our tabletop. We all remember, press our hands down into the mat. And from here, we're going to move into a plank. So I'm going to show you first what it looks like. It's kind of like you're getting ready to do a push-up. So I'm going to step one foot back, and then the other foot back. I'm going to press my heels back behind me. I'm really going to press the mat away. I don't want my hips dropping down to the floor, and I don't want them coming up like downward dog. I want my back to be nice and straight. See if we can do this to a count of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Put our knees back down, sit back on our heels. If you felt a little shaky there, that's normal. That means your body's working really hard. Shake those arms out, and we're going to do that one more time. Let's walk our hands forward. We step one foot back, and then the other. And I'll count to 5 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Go ahead and drop your knees and sit back. Nice job. All right, so we're going to go ahead and sweep our feet around, and we're going to come back to sitting on our bottom for a minute. Yourself sitting firmly on the mat, and then we're going to take one hand and bring it to our opposite knee. We're going to lift the other arm up and bring it back behind us. Just twist a little bit here, like a little pretzel. Maybe look out over your shoulder. And we'll come back to the middle, and we'll do that on the other side. Reach your arm up and then back behind you. Sitting up nice and tall. Come back to the middle. Let's just scooch ourselves towards the middle of our mat. We're going to put our feet on the floor. We're going to use our hands. We're just going to slowly lower ourselves down. So you can put your hands on the mat, or maybe you use the back of your legs. You just roll all the way down. Just scooch up enough so you're on your mat. Okay, so now we're going to do something called bridge pose or hill. So you may want to take a quick peek at the video. I'll show you what it looks like, and then we'll all do it together. So my knees are bent and my feet are on the mat. My hands are pressing down into the mat. And I'm just going to lift my hips and my bottom up towards the sky. Let my back arch a little bit, squeezing my knees together. Lower back down. Okay, so everybody want to give that a try together? So really press your feet into the mat, your hands down into the mat, keep your belly nice and strong, and we're going to lift our hips up. See if you can lift them just a little bit higher. Slowly roll back down. Let's bring our arms out to a little T shape. So stretch them out. Just let both of your knees drop over to one side. And come back to the middle. And let them drop over to the other side. The middle. Let's plant our hands back down onto the mat. And we're going to try that one more time. So really make sure your feet are pressing into the mat. Your belly's nice and strong. Your hands are pressing into the mat. And we're going to lift up our hips. Maybe we use our hands to see if we can lift ourselves a little bit higher. Maybe pretend we have a little beach ball in between our knees and we're trying to squeeze it together. And then we'll slowly come all the way back down. Let's bring those arms out. Let's do a couple more of those windshield wipers. Drop your knees one way. And take your time. These are slow windshield wipers. Bring them back to the middle. Drop them the other way. Back to the middle. We'll do one more time on each side. And back to the middle. Drop them in the opposite direction. And we come back to the middle. Let's bring one knee in, give it a big hug. Put our foot back on the floor. We'll hug in the opposite knee. Put our foot back on the floor. Let's hug both knees in. Give ourselves a nice little squeeze. Maybe we bring our chin up towards our chest, our forehead towards our knees. Make a little ball. Maybe you rock around a little bit. It's kind of good to massage your spine a little. Okay. Slowly lower our head back down. Our feet back down. We're going to keep the feet on the floor and the knees bent. You might want to just take a quick peek here. I'm going to show you what we're going to do next. This is called a figure 4. So we're going to take our ankle and cross it over our knee. And we're just going to use our hand to gently press our knee forward a little bit. We're going to have our foot nice and flexed. So do we all want to give that a try together? We'll cross our ankle over our knee. The knee a little press towards the wall in front of you. Your foot is nice and flexed. The toes are pointing up towards the ceiling. Maybe you want to take your hands and wind them behind your leg and bring your opposite foot off the floor. And all your toes are pointed up towards the ceiling. Maybe you even want to try to straighten into your leg. Maybe you take one of your hands and you can push your knee just a little bit. Give yourself a little bit more of a stretch. Slowly bring both of our feet back to the floor. And let's do that on the other side. So we'll cross the other ankle over the knee. Give our knee a gentle push forward. Really flex our foot. We wrap our hands around our thigh and bring our other foot off the floor. Maybe we straighten into our leg. Our straight leg, our foot is like it's trying to stand on the ceiling. We give that knee a little push forward, just real gentle. And lower both feet back to the floor. This time we're going to stretch our legs long, point our toes towards the wall in front of us, and reach our hands back towards the wall behind us. Rock a little from one hip to the other, feeling ourselves get nice and long. Reaching out through the fingers and the toes. We're just going to take both our hands over to one side and both our feet to the same side. So we're going to look a little bit like a banana laying on the ground. Nice little curve right here. Go ahead and take a peek at the video if you need to see. Maybe we'll cross our ankle over the other ankle. We can uncross our legs. Let's crawl it around so our banana's on the other side. Come back to the middle. Give ourselves another big hug. We've worked really hard today. A little bit more rocking from side to side. Lower our head back down. Bring our feet back down. Let our hands rest down by our side. We're going to reward ourselves here with a little rest called Shavasana. You might want to use a little blanket you have handy for a little pillow under your head. We're doing for jazz here. Let your eyes close. Feel your body getting heavy, sinking into the back of your mat. And just like when we started class, let's pay attention to your breath for a minute. And just rest here. To wiggle our toes a little bit, wiggle our fingers. Maybe we rock our head a little from one side to the other. Beginning to wake our bodies back up, bringing our attention back into the room. your time. We'll gently roll over onto the right side. And take a few moments there. And then we'll slowly press ourselves up. So we're back in our seated position like we started class. Back in our crisscross applesauce. We'll sit up nice and tall. We're going to bring our hands together in front of our hearts. Thank you so much for joining us all today. It's been really fun to share this practice with you. We're going to end together with a single sound of Om. And if you watched Jill's video, she taught you how to do that. So first we'll take a big breath in. That's really important. And then after that, we'll say the word Om together. So everybody take a big breath in. Namaste.
On behalf of the Down Syndrome Network, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank our lovely yoga instructor, Jen, behind the scenes and the studio owner of Yoga Breeze Serenity Shala. We have Desi. I'd like to thank Jazz for your time and energy in participating in this video, and we hope to see you many times joining us on the mat. Namaste.
Bye.
And have a first day, have a video. Jen and Julie have a party group. Nice good day and Thomas Jones correct. Thank you.
Thank you.